SGC here, and we are back for movies straight away after the New Year's. Welcome to 2014, people. So, the first movie that I watched, The Commitment, a South Korean spy thriller film starring Big Bang's very own T.O.P. Yeah! It's directed by Park Hong-soo. I looked up his info, couldn't find anything that he directed before, so I'm assuming this is his debut film, which is a applaud time, and he was an assistant director on The Front Line, if you know what I'm talking about. The Korean war film with people just fighting on the front line over this one hill, south and north. Anyway, so the basic plot line is that T.O.P. is a spy. He's a North Korean agent, and he has to go to North Korea to kill fellow North Korean spies in Seoul to save his younger sister. So the biggest thing is, like, why is he killing his own spies or his own people? But in North Korea, if you've seen North Korean spy films, they have their own units and sections and they fight against each other all the time. So this is what the film is about. So what did I like about this film? First off, T.O.P.'s acting is what I expected from T.O.P. He looks dorky somewhat when he doesn't say anything, but when he delivers his line, it's fine. When he gets emotional, it's like, it just hits, because his character is really, in the sense, him, because his demeanor is just looking and just really deep in thought, sort of, maybe that he's deep in thought sort of thing. You can say that it didn't require much acting, but this is the character that needed to be portrayed, and he did it well here. And also we have a female cast of Han Yuri, who I've never seen before, but she plays a fellow classmate in his class because he comes to South Korea as a student, so to reinforce his cover, he has to go to school, and they have this thing in terms of friendship where she's like a loner and he stands up for her sort of thing. And I sort of like that in the sense where it's like they're both outcasts and they, you know, stick together. Though I do wonder how realistic that is in terms of how a North Korean spy would view a fellow South Korean classmate when she's an outcast. Like, would they connect that well? Who knows? The pacing is somewhat strange. There's like 3 arcs in this film, I would say, and I would say each arc technically could be built into, like, arc 1 could finish the movie, and then if you switch some parts and you switch in arc 2, you could finish the movie, same with 3. So there are times where it's like, oh, this movie's still going, so there was kind of like a, oh, okay. The action here is pretty intense, the brutality is really intense too. Sort of that didn't jive well with me in terms of just, I guess I'm just not used to it. I mean, Big Bang, T.O.P. is all jokes and stuff on live TV and whatever, but there's like crazy action here, and this is pretty brutal. Some of the scenes were just, wow, that's intense. And I really like the gunfights here because it really drive home the point that guns are dangerous, because it's not like, oh, you know, I have a million guns on me and none of them hit me, and if I get shot, I don't die, but it's a lot more realistic way of dealing with firearm. So what did I not like about this film? So maybe not that big of a deal, but I feel like I watched Secretly Greatly last year, and now I watched The Commitment. It seems like both, which were both North Korean spies sent down to South Korea films, they seem to be on rails in terms of like their, you know, rising action, conflict, conclusion sort of thing. So I do hope for a, you know, new North Korean film that ends differently and just maybe the flow is different. So I sort of knew what was coming before it came, because it was just like, oh, this is what happened. Oh, yeah, I can see it coming. Yeah, it happened. Also, in terms of his cover, I sort of wish there was more interaction amongst the school classmates and just being in the setting of a school more than being crazy action so fast. So I would have rathered more time within the school to just maybe understand T.O.P.'s character even more in terms of a humanistic side, rather than him just going, oh, I gotta kill people, bam, he does this thing sort of thing, and he does his thing. And also maybe a more better, maybe another thing that bothered me was the lack of character development in terms of some characters. The biggest thing for me was Yoon Ji-moon, who plays this South Korean National Intelligence Service agent. His motivation for the entire film was set, and it didn't need development, and it was done well. Like everything, his action, his motivations was done well. But sometimes I felt that Han Yuri, like his fellow outcast classmate, her motivation wasn't quite clear, and there was also this, like, there's another old woman spy here, and I think they used her to pull the emotional heartstrings, and I think it would have been a better emotional push in terms of just character motivation if they would had more chemistry and development, more time put into that, than having the movie in 3 arcs. I think the 3 arcs sort of was too much, in the sense where I felt that 2 arcs could have worked a lot better. And yeah, so the biggest thing would be just the pacing of the movie, and yeah, everything else I could sort of gloss over, because I mean, new director, debut director, T.O.P, you know, K-pop star actor, so I don't expect that tall of an order. But yeah, this movie runs in 108 minutes, though it feels a little bit longer in terms of the latter half of the movie. The first half actually goes really fast, so that was enjoyable. I was like, oh wow, that's 40 minutes right there already. That was not expected. But yeah, so T.O.P.'s The Commitment, it was just awesome to see on a big screen. He did his part, enjoyed his part. Storyline and character development could have been better, but the overall image of the movie, I see where they're going. T.O.P.'s portrayal, his acting, the action, I enjoyed it. Totally support this movie if you're a Big Bang fan, for sure, because it's not like Make Your Move where Boa's movie was. Even as a fan, I would not recommend you going. But anyway, The Commitment, enjoyable, action was good, storyline predictable. Anyway, that's it for this movie review on The Commitment.